Or muted. No. Bernalillo Public Schools honors the historic homelands of the Pueblo people and shared contributions of the Pueblo people and descendants of Spanish settlers to establish vibrant communities now and in the future.
Mrs. Secretary, can we get a roll call?
Yes. Member Goulet.
Present.
Member Mike Archibald.
Present.
Member Secretary Sweeney present. Vice President Corey Chavez.
Present.
President Paul Madrid.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Mr. Superintendent, was the dissemination of announcement date and time for holding this meeting done in accordance?
Mr. President, members of the board, yes.
Board members, if you had a chance to look at the agenda, are we all in agreement with the content?
Yes.
Mr. Superintendent, item number 7, introduction of guests.
Okay, Mr. President, members of the board, we'll go ahead and start introducing guests that are online. Currently, we have Sandy Darnell logged in. I think this is her login right here. And Lynette Duell, who is our manager of performance management, is logged in from her office. Tina Brownson, who I think is now back on track with attending regular board meetings every month. Tina Brownson is an educational assistant, a kindergarten educational assistant at Carroll Elementary. And then Hannah Chavez is logged in. She is a parent of students, both I believe at Carroll and at Berlin Elementary School. And then starting with inside the boardroom, if we could start in the back row with Mr. LaPree. Are you the last person? Or actually, no, Adriana, you're the last person. So starting with Adriana and then Mr. LaPree, if you'll go, and we'll kind of wrap through this. And then we'll go to that side, starting with Joanne and moving back. Okay, so starting from the back, Adriana. ¿Quién es? Adriana?
Yo soy Adriana, trabajo en la high school y soy custodial.
Joseph LaPree, principal of Placitas Elementary School.
Leandra Montoya, I'm a teacher and a parent at this elementary.
Matthew Montoya, parent of Placita.
Yeah, one before you goes.
Embarrassed. Your name, I'm Trey.
Daryl Chino, I'm a parent of a student from Berlin.
Pedro Velasquez, I'm a parent of Berlin High School. Tiana Chino, student of Berlin High School.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Augustine Seymour Jr. I'm the travel administrator for the Pueblo of San Felipe.
Carla Moore, I'm the director of education for San Felipe.
Joanne Marley, SIS administrator and data coordinator for the district.
Adrian Lucero, parent of Berlin Elementary.
Angelique Lucero, parent of Berlin Elementary student and employee.
Holly Joe, data analyst of Bernalillo Public School.
Jessica Calabasa, data analyst for Berlin Public Schools.
Brenda Molina, secretary at Carroll and school parent.
Good evening, sir. Armstrong Principal, Carroll Elementary.
Good evening, my name is Tian Padilla and I'm a student from Bernalillo High School.
Celia Miller, I'm a math teacher from Smart Learning Academy. Sorry, that was here.
Okay.
And I'm, oh, that's it. Amy Tenorio, parent, grandmother of a student at Bernalillo High School.
In the back.
I'm Adelina Rojeco, and I'm a parent of a high school student at Bernalillo High School and a second grader at Carroll Elementary. Yeah, with Cristiano Madrid, he is a student at Carroll Elementary.
In the back. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Tammy Gregor, I'm office assistant from Placitas Elementary.
a mother of a teacher, and a grandparent or a student from Placitas Elementary.
I'm Miguel, I'm a sub driver, Cobalt driver for a here, and I'm the end of my daughter.
And then we'll work around to.
Good evening, I'm Kanisha Navarrete, I'm the Deputy Superintendent of Academics.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Perry Darnell, Deputy Superintendent of Operations.
Hi, I'm Eric James, Deputy Superintendent of Business.
And then last but not least, we'll support.
And I am Sandy Darnell, Executive Assistant to Superintendent Mataka.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead. You want us to go? Yeah. I'm John Goodlett, board member for District 2, which is Penny Guaca, Santo Domingo.
Cordelia Chavez, officially elected board member for District 4, but I support the whole entire district.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Archbeth, from Algodones, I represent District 3, Algodones Placitas, of course, the entire district.
Kotsi Hopa, Wanimat Esa, Isihaku Shuta, Kokitema Oseta. I'm Christine Suina, I'm Secretary of the Board, and I represent District 1.
My name is Paul McGrid, and I'm a board member from Bernalillo. Thank you all for coming and for taking some time with us. Is there anyone that signed up, Mr. Superintendent, for a public announcement?
Mr. President, members of the board.
Item number 9 is recognitions. Recognitions are going to be teacher of the month, instructional support, administrator, operations support, and the most important, the student of the month. So, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll kind of work through this. We never rehearse it, and we get better every single time we do this process. We'll go in and work it. That's not said with a lot of confidence. We're gonna go ahead and start with this year's teacher of the month. So where do we have that?
Yes, let's do it.
We'll just take the short comments. Yeah.
So the teacher of the month for this month, and by the way, we're slowly but surely getting sponsorships for each of our employees or teachers of the month, student of the month. The teacher of the month is sponsored by Ashley Darnell Insurance. Ashley Darnell is, Ashley Duran, no, sorry. I say that. I knew her when he left, but it's Ashley Darnell. Ashley Duran Insurance Company. She's a student, former student from Bernalillo High School. And if anybody knows Ashley, she's always giving. She couldn't make it here today because she's actually started coaching. She's the varsity girls basketball coach. So she's putting a lot of time and effort into that. And really dedicated to that effort. So what we do with this, and some of you that are new, what we do with our recognitions is we have a traveling trophy that everybody gets. This year, we decided to use like a wrestling belt, and they get to take it home. It's a traveling trophy, and then you have to take it and design it, make it your own if you're recognized. And each of the traveling trophies is specific to what that role is. And so for the teacher of the month this month is Miss Leandra Montoya, is our teacher of the month. Congratulations. So here's the gift certificate from Ashley, and then your certificate recognition, and then no pressure, but there's some rest. To me, it's like also about designing it to make it represent you and your school.
Okay.
And I know you're also a baller, because ball is life.
Yes.
So make sure you take that and we'll ask for it back in a month. Sandy will ask for it, but we're trying to design it. So if you can stand in front, we're gonna take a picture.
Oh, we're gonna have to do
So your certificate or your belt, whichever both.
You would like your belt on your shoulder. One, two, three.
What do you think I'll say about Leandro, and everybody knows Placitas Elementary is a blue ribbon school for the district. They're also a spotlight school in the most recent result for the district. And everything that we've been putting into place for improving instruction, Leandro has been part of that instructional improvement. And even though they're a spotlight school and they're a blue ribbon school, they're saying, okay, we can do better, we can get better. Those acknowledgements are not just staying there, they're saying we can do all these things. So proud of you, Leandro, congratulations. Thank you for everything. Next, we have our instructional support of the month. Remember who that is and where it is? Is this it? Okay. So our instructional support of the month, this goes to anybody that's not necessarily in the classroom as a teacher, but they could be anything that supports how instruction operates in the classroom. So supporting teachers in instruction, and that's anywhere from counselors to educational assistants to other roles that support instruction. And this month's instructional support of the month is Holly Joe, who actually works with the district. Real presentation. So you got the NXT belt. That's the unique belt. And I know how you're kind of artsy, so I expect this to be dressed up pretty well. Holly, you want to take a picture a little bit?
Yeah.
Our school meeting.
Sorry, we lied to you. But it was a good white lie. Yes, okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. She is solely responsible for trying to get each of our tribes. We're very unique. For those of you that don't know, we have 7 tribes that we have MOUs with, and trying to get the tribes individual data access to PowerSchool. PowerSchool, when they invented the program, they never thought about Bernalillo Public Schools and the nature of the communities we serve. So Holly's actually fully responsible for making that happen as far as that. But that's more, she does a heck of a lot more than that. She also like drops wisdom all the time. So she'll come into my office sometimes and she'll say, I've never thought about this. And she speaks from a parent's perspective. She's very soft in her words, but wise beyond belief. And so, Holly, you deserve this very much. Thank you for everything. Next, we have our administrator of the month. And this month's administrator recognition is Miss Sarah Armstrong. And so just if you know Sarah, I think this is going to be blamed out before we okay. Hold on. And administrator of the month is sponsored by MA Strategies, Mike Archibald's company.
Oh, awesome.
Sorry about that. I'm still learning.
Okay, that's gonna get cleaned out. Okay.
The whole,
Okay, ready?
just.
Put it on your phone.
One, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
If you know what Sarah's had to go through this year to just get school started, we added a whole other grade that wasn't part of the they were a K2 system, and we added a 3rd grade grade. She took it in stride. We still have a lot of parts that we're working through. But Sarah, you've done a great job at launching this school year. It's been, I know that it hasn't been seamless to you, but from the outside world, it's been relatively seamless. So great job on doing that. This is kind of a lifetime achievement award as well, because she, for those of you that don't know, we used to have a pre-K program, a strong pre-K program that we lost around 2010 or 2011. And Sarah, when she was hired, was hired to bring it back. And we became the first 5-star pre-K program in the state of New Mexico. And so, Sarah, that's part of your record. Just know that we know that. Even if we have uncomfortable conversations, sometimes you're doing a great job. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, next we have our operational support of the month. And that is Ms. Adriana Cifuentes. The record.
Yo no sabía.
No sabías. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias.
Gracias por reconocer mi trabajo.
Y sabes que es para, how do you say decorate? To decorate.
Gracias.
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 Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I know we have a couple of parents for, well, 2 parents, how you don't have a high school student? Sure. You do have a high school student. Okay, so we have 3 high school parents here. We have 2 relatively new parents, right? You have freshmen at the high school or grandparents. If you ever go to the high school, you will always see Adriana doing something to clean up the front, cleaning windows, cleaning window sills, cleaning the steps. And cleaning the landscape. She never stops, and she does it with a smile on her face, and she does it as service. And you're an example of what the board president and I were talking about, taking pride in your work just a while ago, and in our board vice president, we're talking about taking pride in your work. And Adriana, you actually exemplify that for the district. Thank you for everything you do. You really appreciate it. And last but not least, and most important, we have a lot of people that we honor, but most importantly, we're here for students, right? And so this month's student of the month is Abriel Lucero. Sponsored by Circle B Ranch. I think that Avelina and Cristiano are going to present something to you from Circle B Ranch. They're partners. So Avelina, this is Cristiano.
For you, Albion. We're very honored and proud to give this gift to you for the way that you shine and make a difference in the community and in your school. Congratulations.
Great job. And you have your traveling trophies, so you can see it's kind of leaned out. Students are doing better with the traveling trophies. But you have the challenge to yourself. That's great. That's when you bring it back over here. We're going to take a picture and I'll say a little bit about it.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
So I believe we had, if I'm not mistaken, we had 13 different students recommended for student of the month from our different schools. What put Abriel over the other students was that she had 2 parents of other students recommend her because of how she helps those other students in school, both in learning or in just generally helping them to navigate their day-to-day school. Because these were parents that just their kids have gone back and said things about how Abriel helps them. So she's also a great student. So Abriel, you're an example, just like Adriana is an example of a great employer, an example of the student that we need in our schools, and can continue doing what you're doing. We're so proud of you. Thank you.
Perfect. I just want to share, so Circle B Ranch sponsoring you. I wanted to learn a little bit about you. So I called over to the school, called Jamie, forgot that Jamie was no longer the principal there. got it to Mr. Rand. Mr. Rand said, well, let me get a teacher. I'll have a teacher call you back. Turned out that Ms. Jaramillo was standing right next to her, whom you had for a class. And Ms. Jaramillo enlightened me a little bit about you. Told me you were kind, compassionate, smart, funny. But the one that stood out the most to her was your empathy, your willingness to help others, and your willingness to go the distance. Whatever they ask you to do in class, you always tend to step up and do it, whatever the role is. And so actually, as I'm saying this, kind of getting a little bit of chills, because the term she used is, you're the model fourth grader. You're what we want as a student. And so mom and dad, that wouldn't happen without you. I heard also that or grandparents are extremely involved as well, so it's a collective effort. And one of the things that we're doing is trying to get community more built into the nuts and bolts of our students, instead of having them dropped off and expect them to be picked up. And you guys, as a family, really show that, and you're really lucky to have them. And likewise, you guys are lucky to have her. So thank you for being that student this month. Next item on the agenda is is there anything there?
Mr. President, members of the board, there is not, well, Jennifer is now on the call. Jennifer, did you have anything? I'm assuming that's Jennifer for you. Did you have anything from the NEA?
I wanted to also say, so the recognition stuff, all you guys are free to go. Thank you guys for coming. Now we're gonna get into the real dry stuff, so don't feel obligated.
We do have one student presentation a little bit later. That's gonna occur, and if you guys want to see that, because this is something that we're trying to, and I just want to put that out there. You don't know Jennifer, but we do have a student presentation that's gonna happen in a little bit.
So don't feel obligated, guys, if you want to step up, you're good. So next item is item number 11, the consent agenda items. Hey, guys, before we, if you don't mind, can we take a couple more minutes? We're gonna flip the script a little bit and move on the agenda, the student presentation. That way you guys can kind of see one of the students in action.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to move item 15 to number 10, yes, student travel to 10. Sure, 11, yeah, 11 maybe, yeah, 11.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
The change is recognized. Next item on the agenda is the student travel, the presentation.
Miss Miller, and I believe you have two students with you today.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a year ago, I went to the board and I asked for, okay, sorry.
You can come forward.
You guys know.
Your students as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
They were like this on the trip.
Come on,
Come on up,
Closer.
closer.
So a year ago, I came before you and I asked for permission to take eighth graders on a trip to Boston and New York with the Explore America. And you granted us that permission. These are two of the students who went, and we talked about community, building community here. This is also one of our travelers. So I have a small presentation. I took about 5,000 pictures. I got it down to 60. We thought it was important for you to be able to see the impact that you make as a board. Because you get granted permission for us to be able to do this, and it's something that I'm hoping to continue. We will be, I'm in the process right now doing the next trip, so we're headed to Washington DC and New York, so this time next year, maybe a little sooner. We will be back with some other kiddos and hopefully some parents and grandparents to let you know the impact that you make. It's a direct effect on just everything that happens in this community. Do you guys want to? Tiana actually was here to help me present, to ask for permission to have the next trip. So do you want to?
Tell us a little bit about your trip, Tiana.
Right.
It was very fun, eventful, and very educational for all of us to learn. We visited a lot of historic sites, a lot of memorials. One of the memorials we went to was the 9/11 memorial, which that was really cool to experience. It's kind of going to Boston, New York is kind of like a once life experience. For us, being the age we are, it was kind of this scary. Of course, being away from our family, Yeah, so one of the cool things about it was the Matter Memorial, how being way over here, you really don't like experience things like that. You really don't think about how badly they were affected by that. And so when we met there, it kind of just showed us more about what happened that day. And kind of just like it kind of just showed us like a different version of what happened and their version of them experiencing it. So that was really cool instead of just hearing it from books or from the news and just reading it off actual walls of the memorial. Another cool thing was getting to visit some of the colleges like Harvard.
Yeah.
One of the holy trinities, that's
Yeah.
right.
It was really cool going to Harvard, seeing a little bit of the campus. You didn't get to see all of it.
Yeah, they changed some rules, so we weren't able to go on the campus as a whole group. So we kind of told the kids, there's a gate, go in your small groups and experience what you can.
We'll talk.
Okay. And tell us a little bit, what was your name?
Tion Padilla. New York, the trip to New York and Boston was, like what she said, once in a lifetime experience. I'd like to go again next year if, she could continue tolerating me. But one of my favorite parts was, the Holocaust memorials, because,
That was in Boston.
yeah, I almost cried seeing that, knowing what happened back then, because me, I'm a history nerd, and
I really like you.
yeah, yeah, almost made me cry, seeing the way what happened during those times. And one of my favorite parts was Harvard too. It was fun taking pictures, have a lot of them. And from New York, visiting the Statue of Liberty, it was very nice because I got to see it up close in person and it felt more real, but smaller. Yeah.
That was fun.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
I think
We-
they're hearing that smoke.
Yeah, we had quite an experience with, we had a day where it actually, the whole place turned sepia. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing. We were sitting out, there's actually a picture, I don't know if I got the brown, but. The smoke from the fires in Canada kind of turned south. And when we recovered, and when we came out of the 9/11 memorial. EF brought masks, one of their representatives brought masks, and told us that we needed to wear them. Well, they highly suggested that we wear them. I told them they needed to wear them. And then they canceled part of our walking tour. So our bus driver, who was amazing from Harlem, he actually drove us through, and I'm sure he was, and we were in a huge charter bus that kind of had control of the road. He drove us through all these little areas and gave us that tour that we couldn't do for the walking tour. Yeah, it was great.
Well, let's take a look at the presentation.
Well, can I? Tell us, Dave, this is our speedy person on the trip. She was in front of everybody, kids. Me.
I went with my granddaughter, Malia Tenorio, and excuse my voice, I'm trying to get over a small little cold, so. Like the kids say, you know, it was very educational, an experience. A lot of stuff to see, you know, I encourage my granddaughter to go, because, you know, you never know when if they're ever gonna get out there again. The Holocaust, yes, it's an experience, the biggest one would have been the 9/11 memorial. That was really something to see. But other than that, I mean, like I said, everything was nice, you know, nice to visit, green, except for the rain in Boston. And it was really cold. But other than that, you know, I would recommend that, you know, the kids go on the trips. It's very nice for them to see something other than what's here in Mexico.
So thank you all for making that happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just once I know we're gonna do the presentation, but.
Can I add
Oh,
something to
yeah.
that?
Class of 91 always gets to the top.
I just wanted to also include that gives the students opportunity to travel. Sometimes a lot of Native kids don't get to go out and explore, opens their eyes to other stuff that's, not here, and then they can experience. After graduation, there's more out there to see and experience. So my daughter, hearing from her and all the stuff they did, like excitement, interactions with Ms. Miller,
We don't talk about.
fellow students, bond, communication, experience all the other cultures, just gives them a whole new perspective of the world and what it has to offer, and not just being here and just to, and I appreciate that you guys all let them experience that.
Thank you.
Her tour guide was fabulous, like she said, our bus driver was awesome.
You miss Caleb? Yeah, I got a good picture of him. I think you'll. Made sure.
Can we see the video?
Yeah.
Just one last thing, Miss Terry's trying to hire Miss Miller as a plumber because she did a lot of plumbing.
We have the opening, right?
We can talk. For retirement. So that. Just so you know, the kids, we had a flood the first night after running through we left 2 hours late from here. We had to run through Baltimore's airport because they were holding our plane to Boston. And then around, I don't know, midnight, 1 AM, I get a phone call. I gave the kids my cell number and I get a phone call and the girls are screaming. There's water everywhere. I'm like, what? And we'll call the desk, the front desk. And I had to give a quick rundown of how you use a phone. Screaming and our family was never trying to sleep. And we ended up with a flood, and we found out that Angelica Robbins is really good at parkour. She got herself she had to rescue their toiletries. This video, I did ask for the video. I haven't seen it. I know I'm laughing a lot on it. But I wasn't able to secure that for you. If I can, I'll send it.
Yeah, maybe sit down just for a little bit so we can see it.
Nancy, something real quick before you get started. Ms. Miller, real quick, the office still opens, please contact me regarding the foundation and that type of thing. So you can have a slow check as you guys come and to the next month.
Oh, yeah,
And
you're already on
you guys
that.
are extremely lucky. Coming from Bernalillo, I really didn't get a chance to see when you had that until I got to college.
Right.
For you to be able to see this type of film and see the world or parts of it of the United States and the history buff that you are, there's a lot more to see out there. So anytime you guys get a chance to take those trips. Do it.
We do accept adults on our trip, just so you know. I can get you the information if you'd like to join us. It was their buddy. It was. There's Caleb. That was the Davis.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to give these students a whole bunch of firsts. These experiences are pretty incredible, and I think everyone in the room can kind of relate if you've traveled a little bit, the first time you've seen this at or different places, and so to be able to see that, you're really fortunate. So thank you, Ms. Miller. I appreciate that.
Yes. My pleasure.
What's the total number, man?
27. We had 20 students and 7 adults.
Ms. Sweeney, yes.
I did hear that the trip was being planned. I know a grandparent was thinking or is planning on going. And it's May's sister. And so
She's in.
yeah.
Yeah, my
So-
grandson is now 8th grade, so I told him, you go. And I saw the tentative itinerary for Washington DC, and I was telling him, you need to go to this. You need to- This is nice, this is awesome.
So I'm really excited that you all got to see, it's Lenapehoking, that's the land of New York. Wampanoag land is in Boston, so it's important to remember that there's also Native people in those areas. But I want you to know that I do have contacts at colleges, Columbia, if you visit there, or NYU while you're in New York City. I do have contacts at the HUNAP office at Harvard who could probably take you in and do a tour separate from that. So please reach out to me and then remind me and I'll send you those contacts. When you're gonna be there, so.
We have to get a private, to be able to add anything, we have to be a private
Okay.
tour. So I've got to get, I think the magic number is 35 and right now I'm at 7
Oh,
travelers.
okay. And then one other thing to the students, I know it was really awesome to fly and be able to fly on your own. I do separately run a program called College Horizons, or a college access program for American Indian students. So we take students to visit college campuses. And if you're, what year are you right now? So freshman, so you'll be eligible to apply to our program next year. And it's for sophomores and juniors, and we are doing our program at Yale for sure, and Northeastern, so.
You need a chaperone.
So, and, going back to New York City, and it's really easy, you'll learn how to travel, and you learn so much more when you're able out there. And I think also appreciate home a little more, and your parents and what they do for you, but I know that with the support of your families, you'll be able to accomplish that, so keep your grades up.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Just a reminder, Mr. President, members of the board, through the board policy, you allow for out-of-state trips and trips of this nature to come before the superintendent's office and us to create a process. So that's what they've already done for this upcoming trip. But the requirement is that they'll come in front of the board and report back on their trip. So I think that that's a really important aspect of it. So thank you guys. You're the first to do this one. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, thank you. All right.
Thanks, guys, for making it out.
Huh? Thank you.
I got it.
You burned the whole trip.
Thanks, April, we'll see you.
Actually, some of them.
Next item on the agenda items. There'll be no discussion of these items unless the board members so request, in which event.
President. There was a technical error that I sent to Mr. Montano. Did you have a technical error in there? Having, I think I sent that, it was HAVEING or something, it was just misspelled, and I sent that over.
I've not seen this. We'll have to fix it.
I think Dr. Gerber-
Is that 11.1 the minutes?
Yes,
Okay.
so with that amendment, I motion to approve 11.1.
Is there- All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. 11.1 is approved. 11.2 voided checklist.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve item 11.2, weighted checklist. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, motion carries. Item number 13 is
12.
well, that's reasonable.
Yeah,
Well,
these questions.
yeah, and I changed the numbers because we modified it to let those students.
You can call us.
So item number 13 is executive session, discussion of land acquisition, 10-15-1. Is there a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to move into executive session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Regards to executive session, then we'll do a roll call.
Member Gurley,
Yes.
member Archibald,
Yeah.
member Sweeney, yes, member Vice President Cordy.
Yes.
President Palmer.
Yes. session.
President, I make a motion, that we out of executive session.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Member Goodelait,
Yes.
member Archwick,
Yes.
Secretary Sweeney, yes. Vice President Chavez.
Yes.
President Madrid.
Yes. I'd like to attest that in the meeting, we only spoke about the discussion of land acquisition. No action was taken, and further discussion is going to be needed. Next item on the agenda is item number 2. And I think we needed to go back to
Leadership team middle school.
Until 15. So.
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
We're on the action.
Well, because we moved, we only moved. So should we go back to that? Is there someone here that's waiting for that?
You can go 13.
Both of us are waiting for the leadership. part. So let's do it.
So instead of jumping to 14 action item, we're gonna, to the amendment, we're gonna go back to leadership team, so it would be leadership team, middle school redesign. And then we can. Sorry about that. Thank you for pointing it out.
We'll close this out.
Mr. President, if I may.
No,
I should have said something, but I'm sorry, but I mean. 13 are 2 action items that can quickly go through. And it might be a more lengthier discussion. Am I correct or not?
But it was motion.
it's already been moved up though.
Yes, and we skipped it.
So it was moved up, so we moved 15 to 11.
Whole thing or just that one board?
We moved the whole.
Whole thing, we didn't specify.
So let's just finish 15, which is 12. So it's, yeah.
Just to say, Terry, will you let Sean know that he's gonna be kind of telling you just about to.
I saw you come boost him up yesterday, Terry. You boosted Sean yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
I'm unmuted. Okay, so
You kind of move those to the side so we can see like this one. Yeah, I'm just gonna, sorry. Is that better?
Yes, yeah, thank you so much.
That's perfect.
John is fancy at 2020. John's 30.
Yeah.
Now I can.
See, I can see this.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
So really want to just kind of do a presentation. You know, interestingly enough, we've had conversations about the redesign of Smart Learning Academy and our goal of serving 7th and 8th grade students throughout the district better, and also giving equitable access to all of our 7th and 8th grade students. Different equitable access to the things that are afforded here in Bernalillo versus at Santo Domingo and Coach T, just because of size of those school sizes. So I want to kind of walk you through some things. We were able to meet, Ms. Sweeney and I were able to meet with the Coach T leadership yesterday. Mr. Goudelet and I have met with the Santo Domingo leadership a number of times. But we thought as we get ready for the meetings, we wanted to make sure that the board is familiar with kind of the rationale, because I know we've had these conversations in our individual meetings. We've had a work session about it, but we've never done a whole presentation on this one. So with that being said, just wanted to go about the 7th and 8th grade academy. Let me minimize this. The 7th and 8th grade academy conversation. The goal of College Curve military readiness of the district is to not just start it at high school level, but to actually bring it down all the way to the elementary level. And more importantly, really emphasize opportunities when they start getting into 7th and 8th grade. And so one of the things, and I'll use some of Mr. Goudelet's language in this. One of the things that we try to do in Santo Domingo and Coach T is we try to kind of retrofit a middle school design into an elementary setting. And K settings can work, I'm not saying that they can't work, but it does limit equitable access to things that kids in Bernalillo, San Felipe, Santa Ana, Zia get at Smart Learning Academy that they don't necessarily get at Santo Domingo and Cochiti, and because of size, limitation of facilities, so forth, it impacts that. So some of the goals that we have for this particular program are obviously establishing critical thinking. That's not unique to any particular program, but that is one of the things that you would do in a college and career military readiness program. Have some more inquiry-based learning, collaborative learning. It's not just sit and get paper and pencil, but there's more project-based collaborative learning. Have an element of entrepreneurship that's part of these programs that we're putting into place, and then also problem solving. And I'm sure there's something else, but my bar is sitting. Yeah, real world, say that multiple times. Real world applications as part of it, right? The connection between school and the workplace. We've already implemented aspects of that at the appropriate levels. But this is kind of where the rubber hits the road, and it really becomes moving forward our college for military readiness in an applications-based program at the middle school, all the way up to the high school. So I want to kind of show you some enrollment trends that we have at Cochiti Middle School and Santo Domingo Middle School. If you look from the bottom to the top, we have Cochiti students that are enrolled at Cochiti School at the middle school level are pretty small in number currently. So if you look at our strategy around 7th and 8th grade, for next year, we would have a total of 9 Cochiti students in Cochiti Middle School. Because we have 5 current 6th graders and 4 7th graders from Cochiti Public. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. So, you know, Ms. Swina and I were in a meeting, it was actually a positive meeting that we had with the travel administration at Cochiti yesterday. And one of the questions came up: how is it that other students outside of Peña Blanca, Sila, and Cochiti are enrolled at Cochiti School? Was that ever the intent? And if you recall 25 years ago, that was not heard of. It was Cochiti students, Peña Blanca, Sila, La Lajana. Cochiti Lake. I always forget Cochiti Lake. Those were the kids that went to Cochiti School.
Cochiti Lake, how many students?
I don't know. It's one or two every once in a while. That being said, you can see what the enrollment numbers are. And one of the things that we did this past year, if everybody recalls, we allowed open enrollment for Santo Domingo students alone, specifically, where we would bus Santo Domingo students to Bernalillo on a choice basis. Parents could opt into that and we would bus them. We had a total of 52 kids from Santo Domingo that took us up on that were previously enrolled at Santo Domingo elementary or middle school. 30 of them are elementary students and 22 of them are currently at SLA. We did not actually advertise that to the Santo Domingo families that are currently attending Cochiti School. We didn't advertise it through them. We just advertised it through the Santo Domingo school community. So based upon motivations of those parents to opt into Cochiti School, there's a strong likeliness that a lot of those parents would opt in to come into the room as well, right? Because there's opportunities there. And there are a number of reasons. We're not going to get into the details of the reasons why parents opt out of going to Santo Domingo school or opt in. What it's done for us at Santo Domingo is it's actually made class size. We didn't reduce staffing at Santo Domingo at all. So we had 52 less students, but they kept staffing. So we now have really small class sizes in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. But by committing to those class sizes, especially in the early childhood, it's actually sized us out of that building at Santo Domingo. The same thing has happened at Cochiti. We've added both Spanish and Keras class we've added Keras class for Santo Domingo and Spanish class for native speakers, as well as for starting a bilingual program. And that sizes us out of those programs. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the other things that we've done. We've added a full-time art teacher, so no longer does Coach D and Santo Domingo share art teachers, which used to be half and half. They each get a full-time art teacher. We added a full-time music teacher. They no longer share music teachers. So that's sized them out, because what would happen is they would flip those teachers, because we felt like even though the size is small, those kids deserve to get the full year of experience. So those are all the pressures that are being put on those schools, even though the enrollment's not that strong. Just as you know, we fund this year uniquely, we did a little bit different funding for Spartan Learning Academy, and it was mostly because of art money to infuse the ramp up of the Fab Labs and the maker spaces. But since I've come on board and Dr. James has taken over, we have funded Santo Domingo and Coach D School about $2,000 more than traditionally what we would have funded per student Spartan Learning Academy. This year it flipped for the purpose of that one-time investment, but traditionally we'll fund those a little bit less. Spartan Learning Academy a little bit less, Berlin Elementary and Carroll a little bit less because of risk factors. Just to put into perspective, courses offered in both schools, we have ELA, math, science, social studies, and CARIS. Those are your core courses for both schools for their Santo Domingo and Coach D students. And our electives are gardening, music, art, PE. At Coach D specifically, PE is only offered to 6th graders. The 7th and 8th graders don't necessarily take PE as an elective. And I believe at Santo Domingo, we offer PE for 7th and 8th. No, we only offer it for 6th grade because that's what they take the middle school requirement. And it's partly because you have all of your elective teachers also doing double duty as specials teachers in the K through 6 setting. And because the size is so small, it's really hard to make sure that we're being able to, you don't have staffing availability for all of that, right? We're still actually overstaffed in both schools. As a comparison, courses currently offered at SLA, you have ELA, you have ELA honors, ELA is English language arts, you have math, but you also have an Algebra 1 offer, you have science and social studies, and then you also have CARIS. Right now, it's only solely offered to Santo Domingo or Santana. I think we're working on a San Felipe solution. We have to work on the MOU. We have electives, we have agriculture, CT, computer science, music, art, culinary arts, woodworking, biomedical, gardening band. We even have string band as part of a separate class in the band. We have a guitar teacher there. So, and that's recent. That's us being able to expand those opportunities. Again, the idea of expanding opportunities is to be able to offer them to all of our community students. And so we've been really transparent with our governors, both in Coach D and Santo Domingo, that these are the differences that are going to be offered, and it's sheer size because we can focus on a middle school component, different kind of middle school. So I'm going to actually skip this because that wasn't. So the vision is I'm going to pull this up of some of the makerspace. It did show up. That's not good. Oh, those are strategic plan. I want to show you. I don't have to show you the strategic plan. You guys know. I know you guys read it at night before you go to bed.
Every night.
I want to show you a little bit of the rendering of what we're looking at as far as the design. It's not quite turning out exactly like this, but this is what we've done. So part of the other part of this is you don't have any more facilities at Santo Domingo or Coach T to be able to redesign them, or they're all being used for classroom spaces, additional classroom spaces and so forth. By moving 6th grade, by using the available spaces in our elementaries to move 3rd grade down to Carroll and 6th grade down to Berlin Elementary School, we were able to open up rooms that already are in existence at Spartan Learning Academy, formerly Berlin Middle School, and start redesigning. So that's where the infrastructure and the investment that you guys have provided us has gone. So what you see here is you see two classrooms that we just basically are cutting out the wall. Dr. James electrical class are the ones that did the electrical work on there. David Chavez from our maintenance crew is the one that's doing all the drywall work in the opening. And you'll see that those two classes turn into a makerspace. So basically, there's equipment that will be put in those classrooms. They're collaborative learning, high-tech equipment, ability for kids to be able to use these things through a makerspace process. Here's a picture example of what it looks like in some other areas. I don't know if you guys can see that very well. I can actually open that, so it's a bigger picture. So a bigger picture of what a makerspace would look like as this gets finalized design. So we're still in the design, we're still in the construction process of this, okay?
Mr. Superintendent, who's putting together the design?
This is done by Bloom, which is our partner in doing this, BLUM. And this is kind of like a rendering of it from a top down. What it looks like.
And they're a design company, or
They're actually specialized in this, in building maker spaces, Fab Labs.
in collaboration with Fab Lab? Do they work with them?
Fab Lab has been a consultant. Fab Lab is a consultant to this particular organization. So you think about the things that we're looking at is project-based learning. Maker Mindsets is actually a program of maker spaces used for K-12 settings. And then Fab Lab and Pathway themed classroom workspaces are things that we want to offer to our 7th and 8th grade. And as I said, preparing them with the skills and knowledge of what they'll need to develop in the future workplace, right? That's the goal of it, right? Start putting purpose and goals in front of our kids. So that, you know, I mean, if you go to any kid that you know at the freshman level or sophomore level, and you ask them, what do you plan to do when you get out of high school? When they say, I don't know, that's a clear, like, we talk about like early warning systems. You can go ask a kid as a freshman, you can ask a kid as an 8th grader, what are you gonna do when you graduate? And if they say, I don't know, you can pretty much say that they're on track to drop out, right? That kind of, and the goal of this is to put them on track to actually have an idea of what they want to do. So programs, again, agriculture, medical, construction, safety, CAD, building up our program at the Spartan Learning Academy. So that what's existing at the high school is actually taken down to the middle school, right? Currently, the high school is really kind of teaching a middle school program. And what we want to do is we want to upgrade that. I think somebody needs to.
No, we're not touching anything. Don't touch Mama's computer.
Tina, we did next. Okay, you muted.
I'm sorry, guys. He unmuted it. I'm so sorry.
No problem. We were entertained. So these are some of the programs that we want to build into our existing programs in the high school. But, you know, in full candor, like and what I will say is right now, we have a lot of momentum in our agriculture program. One of the things that you guys invested was this one-time investment at Santo Domingo and Coach T to prep those kids so that they're not coming to Spartan Learning Academy next year when it's fully built out without some access. So you guys invested in us being able to have ag at those campuses for this 1 year, but they didn't have space. They're sharing space. I think your ag teacher is in the gym.
Yes, we
Yeah, like
have
an
in an office
Yeah.
in the gym.
Yeah, so we're doing the best we can to give the kids the experience. But it's not full fledged. It's the same thing at Coach T. They're sharing spaces just to be able to give the kids the experience to get a little bit of access to what the student will be getting at Spartan Learning Academy moving forward. Let's see, why can I not? Okay, some of the things that we need to make sure that we have continuing to occur: bilingual programming. So we've invested in bilingual programming at Coach T School and at Spartan Learning Academy. At At Santo Domingo, we are still working with Santo Domingo Language Board on creating a bilingual program. Right now, it's a heritage language program. It's gonna be, as you know, it can be political. There's a number of components to it. So to turn it from a heritage language program to a bilingual program, you will need the language board to authorize content area to be taught in Keres. And we actually have currently one certified content teacher at Santo Domingo that is a Keres speaker. So she'd have to be certified to be the Keres with a 520 certificate, but then she could teach social studies in Keres. They could get language, the Keres language in what they already get. And then we could provide their English language development, which is part of the 3-hour program. But that's a work in progress.
This is at the next.
But this is at Santo Domingo. Once we establish that at Santo Domingo School, all of those are transferable to Spartan Learning Academy, and we have the access to make that happen.
Mr. Montano,
Yes.
okay, I want to mention the Ed Fellows, that we
Yes.
have 4 people that were on the pathway to do that.
Pathway to do that. So the other, that's actually, we just had a meeting with the Lamo Foundation today about some of this work. One of the things that we've done is we've invested in the Ed Fellows. We put a lot of time and effort into the Ed Fellows. We also got funding from the New Schools Venture Fund to support that work. To build teachers from the Pueblo in their paraprofessionals. They get trained to become teachers, but because they're native language speakers, they can also get the 520 certification. So they could build into this bilingual program that we're trying to do for Santo Domingo specifically. I think we have 1 San Felipe Ed Fellow, maybe 2, one here at Carroll or Early Elementary School, but they're not currently tied to this type of becoming teachers. Supporting students in solving community challenges through application and learning. This can happen up there. This is not unique to Spartan Learning Academy, but with all the resources that we want to provide for that 7th and 8th grade component, it becomes more actionable. And one of the things that we stated, the Coach T administration didn't know that when they said, well, we don't want them to leave Pueblo lands, and that's a big consideration for us. And they said, well, we actually have a land acknowledgement where the Board of Education voted to acknowledge that all of the lands in Pueblo Public Schools are Pueblo lands. And we acknowledge that. So they're still under Pueblo lands, maybe not the reservation of Coach T, but they're Pueblo lands. And they kind of accepted that. I think yesterday, maybe not as openly as I thought it sounded, but and then also the idea of tying the cultural relevance in it. One of the things that we've been working with Viola Paquin for a couple of years in developing a culturally responsive curriculum that's tied to our Native American heritage, and then also building out Ms. Corral is building out that tied to our Hispanic heritage. So that way we can talk about Mr. President, you have mentioned when you taught agriculture at the high school, you had mentioned that you would be talking about these agricultural science terms. And your students from the Pueblos knew it. They knew it. They just didn't know it was science. They knew it as life. That's their life, right? And when you tied it to the science of what they're doing, they completely get it, right? They just didn't know what they didn't know, or what they did know actually. And so the idea of us using that to tie the cultural units together, and I think we're well on our way to do that. A little bit of data about what's going on currently in Cochiti. We have Francisco Arquero that's teaching 12 students 7th and 8th grade. And then Gilbert Herrera teaches the 6th graders, and he has about 5 students in his class. We also have Dorella from Santo Domingo, who I believe has now started the Santo Domingo Keres class up at Coach T, and I believe that's like 21 students. So she actually teaches more Santo Domingo students Keres than Coach T students that are being taught Keres at the middle school. And then just for purposes, because when we're thinking about being able to provide Coach T language services at Spartan Learning Academy, if that's the desire of Coach T, we definitely have, because Darren Herrera teaches 1 period a day, 17 students. And so and even if you were teaching 2 periods a day, he would still have room in his schedule to be able to transfer to Spartan Learning Academy. Right now, he's teaching 1 period a day, 4th period. This is what it looks like for Santo Domingo teachers. We have the 4 teachers teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. They all have numbers. Basically, at Santo Domingo, every student that is Santo Domingo is taking Kara's class. I think you have less than 10
Less
kids,
than 10.
less than 10 kids that don't take Kara's class. And that's because they're not Santo Domingo, and we actually only have 1 non-native on campus, right? And that's a teacher's daughter. She's getting a unique experience. Let's just say. Absolutely, she's gonna have an awesome college story, a college essay story. So these are just the numbers of language and culture, so we can transfer those pieces of work. Pauline Chavez teaches 73 students at BHS. Those are opt-in students, so Santo Domingo students are not required to teach, to take Paris at the high school. I know that is the ambition of the language board, but I don't believe that they've gotten it to tribal council at this point. So, at one point, Pauline will be fully loaded with all of her kids, because you can see she has 140 kids there, so she's teaching about half of the kids. So we will have to figure out a way to fill a position at Spartan Learning Academy for Santo Domingo Caras, if in fact we get those numbers and the language council wants them to do it. These are just bullet points. One of the things that we know that we need to make sure that we do is we need to make sure that when we're building out systems that we're thinking about all of our communities, right? Everybody having access to all of our communities, from all of our communities. And so increasing this access is important, but also increasing the access to external resources. So one of the things that we have already started articulating both at the high school and at Spartan Learning Academy are partnerships with businesses and other entities that can be both coming into the schools as well as taking our kids to those places for shadowing and things of that nature. It's obviously because we're close to those entities, it's a lot more streamlined for us to be able to get them to their from Spartan Learning Academy. And also because the numbers fit, we can do it on a rotating basis. Work closer. And then we actually have walking field trip distance to a bunch of different, like right down here, we have industrial places that we've already started articulating. And right across in Mountain View, we have some more industrial places that we've already started to articulate some potential partnerships for those opportunities. Building out, the board authorized us as part of this plan to invest about $1.5 million in these our Fab Labs, if we have facilities already ready to be there, right? If the $1.5 million isn't going to get a building of anything, so we're just remodeling and putting the resources of the Fab Labs and the those are what we're costly expenditures. And then we're spending a lot of this year training our teachers around the Make the Mindset, project-based learning, and modern classroom projects, specifically the teachers that are responsible for this work. And we'll expand that to other teachers moving forward. Again, you know, these are kind of repeats. I would just say that one of the things that has been driving us is Yazi Martinez. It's not my primary reason for existing in education, but it aligns with my goal, but with my focus and my purpose in education. So when we talk about equity and access, Yazi Martinez is obviously part of that. And so one of our goals of getting our Northern students to be having access is so that we give them that equitable opportunity that kids that might that they normally wouldn't have. And I'm just going to say, and Mr. Boulay and Ms. Suina, you guys have both attended Coach D school. My kids all attended Coach D school, and for not the experiences can be great, can be different, can whatever they are. There was definitely different experiences and opportunities back when you attended Coach D school than what's available. So we talked about at Coach D school and Santo Domingo school. In the time that I've been here at Santo Domingo school, we've tried so many ways. Helped out the high school at one point by moving a teacher at the high school to become a science teacher. That lasted about 2 months. And we had 4 science teachers at Santo Domingo. We've had 3 science teachers at Cochiti. We've had, in the last 6 years, we've had 4 English teachers. And the only consistent teacher we've had is the math teacher at Cochiti for the last 10 years. And at Santo Domingo, we have 2 consistent teachers that have been there for the last 3 to 5 years. And so also having consistency of the teaching staff at that level, part of it is housing, all of those things are it makes it a great deal more difficult to create continuity for small groups, limited resources, limited building space. And when we think about Yazi Martinez, being able to give those kids access is critical for us. Just wanted to point out athletics at SD Cochiti. These are the athletics that occur: volleyball, cross country, basketball, softball, if there are enough girls available, baseball, if there are enough boys available. And that's always almost contingent on enough boys both at Cochiti and Santo Domingo so we can combine teams. Volleyball, I was just at the volleyball game, was that Tuesday? Monday. So the volleyball, we have at Santo Domingo School, we have an A and a B team, right? We have an A and a B team. All but 2 girls are the same team. There were 2 different girls on the A team than on the B team, but all those girls played both except for the two girls.
That's good. Playing time.
They get plenty of playing time, but a lot of times they don't make, right, because they don't have the numbers. And it hurts the girls that want to participate or the boys that want to participate. Basketball and for both boys and girls, they're always in both schools, they're always at a deficit when it comes to playing schools like Bernalillo or like schools in Santa Fe, because you're playing 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And what I've noticed over the years and over the entire 28 years that I've been affiliated with this district, and Coach Darnell can say is often you'll have a 15 team roster, a 15-player roster on both boys and girls. 8 of them are 6th graders, and then the rest of them are 7th and 8th graders. And slowly but surely, those 6th graders are no longer playing as 7th graders, and less of them are playing as 8th graders. And part of that is they're always overmatched because you're having to combine these. They're at a talent deficit. It is not like when I was in middle school. It was actually junior high at the time, and they could even come and beat us because they had a bunch of 6'4" guys on their team. It's not like that at all anymore. But those are some of the things we have to contend with, right? The other thing is you don't see football on here. You don't see wrestling on here. We neither can field a team. What's that?
Golf.
We only see golf on here. Matter of fact, I forgot to list this because we have golf at Spartan Learning Academy because it's affiliated with our high school. And it's also affiliated with NB3. NB3 is our partner on the golf program, and they're very interested in it. But the ability to get kids down, get kids to the places they need to be. So there's a big deficit. Look at the difference at athletics at Spartan Learning Academy. Volleyball, we have full volleyball for 7th and 8th grade. Cross country, boys and girls, we generally have fuller teams. We have football, we have soccer for boys and girls. We have basketball for boys and girls, wrestling for boys and girls. Just to be candid, the wrestling program was almost non-existent until last year. We got a new coach and he's building the wrestling program. This year, Manuel Montano identified 4 boys at Santo Domingo that wanted to play football. We had no way to get them to football practice. We could not do it. And Manuel is still working to get his certification to be able to drive them, but that's still a process for us. And still, that's not a system that supports that equitable access. We have bowling for boys and girls, we have softball, baseball, and then track. So look at all the offerings that are made available to the kids. So by offering those kids the opportunity to come to Spartan Learning Academy, providing the transportation, we open up a lot of doors for them. I don't know why this particular slide shows up. This button. And I'm gonna have to exit it. And then I have to. So on this one, basically, what we want to do is now that we've started our we've been working a lot more with Santo Domingo for a couple of months, I would say we've had multiple meetings with them just to kind of give them a heads up on things. We also talked to them in the spring about the options. We had a couple of conversations with the education director from Coach T, but at this point, we started the formal conversations with the tribe. Just so you know, both tribes are basically saying, we need to leave it to the people, right? We need to leave it to the people. They said it's not really our role or our decision, it's gonna be our people's decision. But what we want to do is move forward with the communication plan that has a website dedicated to updates and information on transition, what that could look like, whether it's a choice or whether it's restructuring. Continue with our meetings. We're having town hall meetings with each community. We want to have community surveys for their input, because one of the things that we get is, first of all, I will tell you that in presenting this particular presentation to Coach T, they had a very different perspective, right? When we presented this, they said, we completely understand what's happening. We completely understand your rationale. So part of it is trying to make sure that the rumor mill doesn't get ahead of the reality of what we're trying to accomplish. So those are all the bullet points on the communication plan. And again, resources needed. Much of this you have already started to provide us. And I'll go back to the slideshow because I don't think I have more issues.
I think it's.
I'm gonna, yeah, I don't know why it does that. These are two weird slides. Anyway, you guys have already provided us a lot of these back in the spring budget time. And so we continue to work on them. Again, we knew that we weren't going to be ready to go right at the beginning of August, that it was going to be a time building. And so that's why we decided to resource some of these CTE teachers to Coach T and Santo Domingo to make sure that they had some access to the same types of learning that the kids at Smart Learning Academy, as we're building out the program, have. Some of the things that we feel like are strengths of it, and I just want to say that being at Bernalillo High School, both as a student and as an administrator, one of the biggest challenges you had at Bernalillo High School was integrating kids that didn't know each other from different communities at 9th grade. And it becomes so systematically confined to their own cliques. And that's been, and actually Mr. Darnell, you know better than anybody because you were on that campus for longer, but for my time that on that campus, that was a struggle for us, and continues to be a struggle. So the idea that we get them together earlier is critical, right? I think to build that community. We already know that our kids from all of our pueblos and even all of our communities have already started doing choice, right? We know kids leave our school district from to go to charter schools. We know that they go to Santa Fe Indian School for each of our pueblos. We know that they go to Rio Rancho. We know that's happening. So the idea is that we build this community-based education connection, but we build it with the high level of expectation that is driving toward 21st century skill, so that our kids have the ability both to integrate with each other, but also to get the academic access and rigor that some of the families are asking for, not just from our families, but from our other families. So this redesign of SLA as the place that we're doing this, and the ability to integrate all of the kids into that, gives them the ability to have access to all of these bullet points. Just community-based education connections continuing. We want to make sure that our kids are not just I think if you look at all the research on educating boys specifically, and if you look at that has been occurring over the last 10 years, but probably 20 years, the education system is failing boys at a higher rate than it's failing anybody else, boys in general, right? There used to be a gap between boys and girls because of opportunities, but the gap has changed. Girls are out achieving boys by far and doing really, really well. One of the things we have to grapple with is why. And one of the things we've done is we've created an education system where, and it's not a new education system, it's what we've done, where we expect our boys to sit and get for 45 to 60 minutes. And what we know about educating boys and the young, especially the adolescent, the younger male mind is within about 15 minutes, you have to activate their learning. Right? That's actually good for all learners, but within 15 minutes of a boy's, whatever you're teaching them, if you're gonna lecture them more than 15 minutes, they're going to lose focus. So you have to activate their learning. Spartan Learning Academy actually is designed to be able to do that on a regular basis, activate learning in a project-based manner across the areas. So I think that that's really critical for us to actually think about just educating our kids in general. And then the last thing I just want to put is like just the idea that we, by moving kids to Spartan Learning Academy, the proposal is to open it up for our two northern communities that are famous northern that don't normally come to Spartan Learning Academy. By having that opportunity, we don't divest ourselves of the native education opportunities that they have. What you would now have at Spartan Learning Academy is all 7 of our tribes that we currently serve. We actually serve more than 7, but we have 7 that are located within our district that are formal collaborators. All of our tribes would be located in one school at an earlier age. It gives us an opportunity to integrate them, but it doesn't take away from our ability to serve them. So one of the things that happens, so Gear Up is a grant that we receive at the district, right? We didn't decide, the school district didn't decide, we want Gear Up to be at Bernalillo High School and at Bernalillo Middle School. Higher ed department decided that's what it was gonna be. It wasn't like a competitive grant. They basically said, Bernalillo Public Schools, you're qualified for Gear Up. You have to have it at Bernalillo High School and Bernalillo Middle School. And what we've done is we've pushed them since I came on board. I really pushed Gear Up to say, hey, if we're going to offer these things to BMS, now Spartan Learning Academy, we have to offer them to the northern schools. So what we've been doing is we've been jumping into operational dollars, and I'll go to Eric and say, hey, this is being offered to BMS because that's what the middle school students are doing. We're going to need to free up some money for the 2 northern schools to be able to do that. And with that, we would be able to give all those opportunities as part of the grant to our northern students that are coming from those communities. So with that being said, I didn't want to read all the bullets. This is kind of the rationale for, obviously we've talked about it. I've talked about it individually in our meetings. I think all of us as a board, all of you are supportive of this movement and this restructuring. But again, you know, we've got to get in front of our communities, continue working with our communities and let them know what the rationale is and why this is something that we're doing and not just assume that everybody's thinking the same way that we are. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Good.
I think point of clarification more than anything, I noticed looking at the course offerings. There is not a Spanish course offering at Coach T, at least on your list.
Yeah, I left it off. I forgot.
So are they receiving Spanish?
They are receiving Spanish.
Can you double check that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I know that. I just didn't put it.
Okay. We can talk about that later.
I was gonna say, yeah, that little grin.
You know something different.
Exactly.
I hear you. Yeah. The other, I had several of everything. We talked about a lot of positions that we added at Coach T and Santo Domingo to help make those experiences more equitable. The majority of those positions, where is their funding coming from?
Right now, it's coming from ESSER.
It's coming from ESSER, and ESSER is expiring when?
In September.
In September, yeah. Okay, so those positions, off the top of your head, what are they that are going to be?
Mostly, excuse me. Mostly EAs.
Okay.
And then we also have some additional positions that were funded through Impact Aid.
Okay.
Up there under the 25147 fund.
Okay.
Salvador necessity and coaching.
Okay, and is that like the ad, music, I mean, the things that we add, right?
Garden is a big
Because
one.
you're all under those
Music
expired.
is in there. So those aren't expiring, they are here primarily the
Expired.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are expired?
The EAs are expiring under ARP.
Okay,
And
and what about,
and all that are under that recurring funding of 251 impacted.
okay, okay, but that's also the fund that's down pretty significantly. We're seeing a trend. Yeah. That's trending downward.
Well, and it's also having those staff in schools that don't even have room for their staff.
Yeah.
So we're basically putting staff in a place where they can actually kind of cultivate the starting of that process, but they don't actually have room for it. So, and we knew this, we knew this, but we also said we didn't want those kids to come from Santo Domingo or Cochise schools and have not had any kind of access to this kind of instruction in program. And then they're coming on in the kids at Smart Learning Academy already there, they've had that access, right? So that was the calculated
Sure.
risk.
And I would encourage us as we meet with the communities to be prepared to kind of discuss that. Because I think unfortunately, you know, while our intentions were well intending when we added those programs, the truth is that they're not equitable still. And I think there may be a perception that, you know, we've added a gardening program, but if they're stuck in an office in the gym, have we really added a gardening program, right? And so we've added a position, we have not added a program. And we need to really highlight that for the community to its misleading. I remind myself often that I'm elected to represent the constituents within my district and not my own personal thoughts and opinions and beliefs. And you know, one of the concerns that I've heard from the community there is also around sports. And so we talked about how we're going to be potentially increasing access to sports programs by bringing, you know, allowing access to in-rural communities to these programs. But historically speaking, the perception is that very good athletes from the north don't get played when they come to our program. They won't make the team. If they do make the team, they're going to sit on the bench. It's just to have a token, you know, northern kid sitting on the team, so that we can say that we did it. And so the perception of the communities is going to be, you know, when you can have an A and B team and it's the same 6 girls, that's not ideal. But bringing the 12 girls down here and none of them make the team is not better than what they're receiving right now. So I think having an answer, a plan, an explanation for what that would look like, and because it's not equity that they have access to it, it's equity that they experience it. And so how do we navigate that to also be fair to the children that are down here, right? I mean, we don't want to artificially provide an experience. So I don't know how we navigate that or what ideas or thoughts we have, but I think that's going to be a perception from the community. The other thing that I'm really hearing from my constituents up there is there's kind of, it seems like 2 definitions of equitability and what individuals' priorities are. And there's those that heavily align with our strategic plan in terms of a what we would consider a westernized delivery of education. So things like the makerspace and the fab labs and those sorts of things. And I think we have some families that place a lot of value on that experience for their children. And I think, you know, when we offered school choice, we saw that those 52 families, that is their priority set. And so they took us up on that. But we also have a large group of community members who value that very small town experience that they get up in the north. And so I think we have to be very careful here that when we're navigating our attempt at equity, we're not undermining an individual's right to self-determination. And I don't want us to force anyone, no matter what community they're from, to drink the Kool-Aid, if you will. And so, you know, how we navigate that, I don't know. It may be that, you know, we need to consider kind of we've talked about this district-wide, kind of these satellite campuses where, you know, one elementary is really targeted towards ag and those types of courses. One is really geared towards robotics and engineering. At the elementary level, we had that conversation. I think this may be an opportunity for us to consider that as well. How do we kind of create a satellite campus that's very kind of hometown community based, but also a satellite campus in here that's really geared towards things like Maker's Lab and that. Just don't want us to overstep our boundaries and write a prescription for those two communities that they don't want. So I think those are the only questions that I have. Those are the only comments. that I have.
Judgment.
Fred, if you don't mind, I'd like to defer, I'd like to hear what Ms. Sweeney has to say, being representative of that whole area. And listening to her constituency, I'd like to hear that before I make any comments. If that's okay with you.
So we did do this presentation with Coach T yesterday, and I see you have some things. And so I think it was hard for me to see the numbers of students. So maybe if you can make one slide just Santo Domingo and one slide just Coach T, so that the numbers are we can all see those numbers. And seeing that population and growth, and it's true, we're seeing not only students at that 7th and 8th grade level, but within Coach T at younger grades. And I think at both schools, parents are already making those choices, school choices, and deciding to drive their kids, working in Albuquerque, Santa Fe, driving them down here. There's another, giving Santo Domingo already that school choice and bringing kids to be at we have some at Carroll. But just seeing already that trend. And then again, for me, it's also like the teacher turnover. Historically, way back when, we had dedicated teachers that were from our communities that were there who taught our students up until maybe the 9 months or so. And so it's not the same. It's hard to find housing for teachers to be living there, or even, this is where we have to think about growing our own teachers, our students becoming those teachers to be able to work and teach our own people, our students up in our areas. The one thing I do want to see is maybe from our FMP is also putting some of the population, what they're also estimating as far as the growth that populations there is, if it's just continuing at the rate that it is right now. I know that at Santo Domingo at one point there was like maybe just over 100 each year were added. Knowing that I have a family member who used to work with the health service, and they would do like the child find or Head Start. So that would be a good place to see, where are our numbers and the students coming in for the years. But I know that it's going to be a hard decision for some of the families, like they want that community, that they want that small school setting. And it is good for some, but it's also, are we holding students back from like that opportunity there, that we had those young people here earlier to be able to experience life outside. I know we're not going to always spend our time in our communities, in our homes. We have to drive, we have to come out. I know the concern is also about times school will be starting, and I know even for John and I right now, we're here for a board meeting, and we're, depending what time we leave here, we're not going to get home till 9:30, 10 o'clock, depending on when we leave here. So we just have to kind of think things through how we're going to work through all of that. So I mean, I think that having this presentation The other thing I also think about having a little bit of funding just in case it comes up, just having a slide ready for our community meetings might also be one other slide we might have. But I think it's really great. We'll see what happens. I honestly have only gotten one text message from one parent asking, is it true? Are there gonna be meetings? Yes, there will be meetings. And so no one else has approached me, called me, or said anything else. And I've been in and out of the community. I mean, I'm at events and no one has said anything except for one text message. So, yeah.
Terrific.
Thank you Dan, for that, both Mr. Delay and Ms. Sweeney, that gives some really good insight. I have a couple of things. I know we haven't got Trace. I saw that. First of all, I'd like to have the presentation. You can send that over. I mean, that'd be great. I'm sure you're going to. I guess I'm not really still clearly seeing a distinction between middle technical education and electives. Electives are nice to have. CTE is very structured. There are programs of study, career pathways, community engagement and community involvement. I've seen some of that, but I'm still hearing the word elective, right? And some of those things fall into an elective. But when you look at BABLAB, and we're going to try to establish that, that's an advanced manufacturing career pathway. There's a whole program of study for that. And where it goes, so if it's introductory at the 8th grade level, 7th and 8th grade level, that's fantastic. Because when they go to the 9th grade, they should at least know, I'm going to be taking advanced manufacturing 1, 2, 3, 4, automotive fits in that, welding fits in that, digital printing fits in that. There's all that is that career pathway. I'm still not seeing that clear. I'm not seeing it clear at the high school. And how the middle is going to roll that in. I'm seeing some nice things happening, some good programs that are being real established that could turn into that. But I think if we want to give our kids a real clear pathway and understanding of what the world holds for them, and how it fits in with those core competencies, those core academics, which I saw a lot of, and then it drives down to opportunities, right? How do we keep our students here? The more opportunities we can offer, and I see the SLA with this long list of opportunities. This gets to my second point. And I think it's a point we're all forgetting here. We're in an age of technology. Let's use it. If we're going to create a satellite in Cochiti or Santo Domingo, why aren't they listening to an instructor at Bernalillo Middle School in the makerspace? And they have some tools and instructor on their end as a satellite, but they're getting the same type of instruction. We're talking about losing positions because of ESSER and that kind of thing. Well, we would only have to have one instructor and moderator at the satellites. I see this happening all over the country. And I visited a ton of districts countrywide, across the nation that was the whole meaning and creation of makerspace. That's what it means. It's a makerspace to share technology, to share STEAM, project-based learning, work-based learning with various locations. Littleton, Colorado, just outside of Denver. Phenomenal makerspace in collaboration with Boeing and the aerospace industry. They teach it together to 5 locations, 1 location, 1 teacher at one of their schools. These are fantastic. I bet we have a lot of smart boards in our classrooms, right? We should be utilizing them for that purpose. There's a way for our kids to get that instruction at a satellite if we use our technology. We're in that age. It's time. And that is a means of expanding our educators' knowledge and growth and performance as they reach out to more children. So if I'm in Cochiti or I'm in Santo Domingo and I'm attending And I go to one classroom with a makerspace with these kind of screens, and I have one instructor, and I have a moderator in the classroom to help me work through that assignment. We're ready to go. We're talking about introductory classes at the mid school. There could be some hands-on, and we might have to address that, but that could mean having a digital printer in that room in Coach D, just one. For 12 students, or that type of thing, or 2, and they can do their hands-on activities on that. Totally agree with Mr. Montanio on the boys and girls learning differentials. Boys are more want to get their hands on things, so CTE is perfect for them. And how many? That keeps their interest going. It really does. And now I have one more third point I want to make. I just want us to think about those type of things when we talk about equitable opportunities under the Martinez-Yazzie case. The third thing is basically, I just lost my train of thought, so never mind about the third thing. It'll come to me sooner or later, maybe later. Let me take a look at my notes here real quick, and it might get me to come back to me. I was only planning to talk about those 2 things. Those are my observations. If we, I think the SLA is a good foundation. It's a good start. But I think we have some opportunity here to expand on it and maybe create those satellites that we need to create for those communities that the community needs. And I think it's something the board might want to take into consideration when we look at it from a funding standpoint. But if we can't get everyone to come to one location, then we've got to go to them in order, and it's our responsibility to provide an education. And technology is the way to do it. And I'd say technology broad, we've got to do a thorough evaluation of the capabilities of those schools in terms of broadband. But I can tell you right now, every single one of the pueblos that the superintendent has mentioned has a ton of money to upgrade their broadband within their communities. And that includes the schools and the school systems. The NTIA grants are just coming out of the Office of Broadband and Expansion. And they are begging the tribal governments to apply, to get their infrastructure, not only for the schools that they're in their area, but for their entire communities. And think about that, if you have that technology moving forward, you get it in school, you have to a course or a curriculum, entrepreneurship can be delivered via technology and Zoom and webinar very easily. There's curriculum out there that does that. So, but they have to have the capabilities that those communities enable to download and upload. So the FCC has gone into this major and spent a ton of money to try to get our schools to the point of being able to upload at 100 megs and download at 25. That's the standard across the board. You can do that, and each of those households can do that. Then they can take that technology right to the home, do their homework. So what we're trying to do is bridge the homework gap, which can help us enhance and improve those children's performance. So I just come from the overall umbrella. We have an opportunity here. I think the SLA is a good start. I think we do need to consider satelliting that. We got to look at the other side of the coin. Say we establish the satellite Coach T. And let's not make any bones about it. Up in Coach T, our biggest challenge is keeping those kids in that community or go to school there between SFIS and that kind of thing. Down further south, we have others, and then it's not just the Native American communities, it's the Bernalillo communities. These guys are going somewhere else. They are. And if we can't upgrade and look at that and upgrade our technology to help them with that opportunity, then they're going to look at maybe take a second look and say, hey, the opportunity is just the same as long as I have access to all these type of opportunities that it is at SFIS, that it is at Rio Rancho in Cleveland. more and more people are going to Cleveland. And I'm hearing about that more. I spoke with Senator Shendo today. And they've got a big problem in hands. And that's not even our district, but it's gonna hit us. Because I know Santanians. I'm sorry. Tamaya, sorry.
Tamaya.
Tamaya. Are also, we're losing those kids. They're actually, they're at the ransom. Right? And I keep saying this over and over, if we can't upgrade, or we can't move and upgrade in that our technology. We're in for a battle when Rio Rancho opens their PTE center. That's next year. So, I'm gonna keep arguing. I think CTE is the common denominator to address the Yasi Martinez, to put an equitable playing field for all our kids here. Remember, we're right in the middle, two major hubs. So work-based learning, project-based learning. They can work in Rio Rancho, they can work here in Bernalillo, they can work in Santa, 3 hubs. They can work in Albuquerque. Huge. We have a golden opportunity here that I think we should take advantage of. Thank you for the.
Ms. Chance.
I have one more point, just in regards to the issue of broadband. Yes, there is lots of money for broadband infrastructure for broadband, but I do also know tribal council, tribal leaders are also weary on the impact that broadband, internet, and bringing it to our communities and its effect on our culture, our language, and community. So there's that other side of the coin, and that's the one thing that was also mentioned in at the meeting is how will this change impact those students. So our students do have historical stamina for having been here for time immemorial, being able to still be here after colonization and the impacts of the US government. But that is one thing is it's really important for our students to also hold on to that legacy and making sure that it's carried on to the next generation of students and people coming behind us. So that's really the most important thing for our students coming from the Pueblos is making sure that that is carried on for generations to come.
And if I may, Mr. President, I really do need to answer.
Well, let's, let me jump over here to Ms. Chavez and see if you want to.
Y'all don't forget that thought, because I've got something important to say.
I piggyback on everybody's and John's and stuff. I agree. We need some type of a balance to have our culture, even our Hispanic culture, continue it. But at the same token, we need to also teach a modernization to learn to survive in the world as well. The tribes and, you know, to where you're saying they're begging the tribes to go, it is local autonomy. And then you have new leaders coming every year, you're communicating to them from now until December, January, and then you're gonna have to start again preaching all over to new leadership again. And every time new leadership comes, it's a new vision, and we're taking 10 steps back and stuff. I get it, you know, I know the internets and such, you know, is an issue because parents have to limit their children to the internet and stuff. Where's the parent responsibility on that? At the same token too, I was excited to see Christine there with these students that came today to present about their trip in New York and Boston and stuff, you know. But at the same token, those parents chose to bring them to middle school. And I'm glad I got Pedro, he was one that came and stuff, but he knows the value of not only the organization, but keeping the culture. Like Christine said, as you go out and do your thing and fly your wings and then come back and respect your culture, respect your home. And that's the balance that I think we need to show, that never forget where you came from. And we need to start somewhere. In between there, I was approached by a Native American from Santo Domingo. And we do need to have more communication out there because they're not getting the correct information. Is it true that we're just gonna leave the elementary there? And then once I started explaining to her about the Spartan Learning Academy and CTE programs, and this way they'll have a choice and option on school choice, school of choice to where either it's college or career academy. Technical academy, and then they graduate with either going to college or technical, and that changed her vision and they understood, but the lack of knowledge out there of what we're trying to do is just not getting to them yet, and that was in the San Fernando Pueblo area. I love the idea with Spartan Learning Academy. Fortunately, I was blessed. I live in Bernalillo. I have to concur with Christine here, the extracurricular activities, the time. It does bother me, the kids getting home at 10 o'clock. I go to work at 6:30 in the morning and I see the buses every morning. And I feel for those kids, because what time do they get up? Then what time do they go home, you know? But it is what it is. That's because of our district, but we've got to do the best that we can for everybody and just keep everybody, even that small cultural community. What are we gonna do if there's 5 parents that refuse to bring their kids here? We have to offer them education. We can't forget those ones either, you know? So we have to be mindful for everyone, and yes, that would be great to have them all here. We can offer more, athletics and get into safer athletics to come and play over here. Oh my gosh, most of my friends were Native Americans and they were heck of athletes. Terry knows, some of those public kids are very athletic. However, the dedication is just not there either. That kind of drops the ball for us too, because they have doings or this and that. And I get it, because I'm at the ranch too, where I had to go, but is at the ranch to go do the cows. You know how that is, it's your living versus having to having to do it's a choice, responsibility. That's life. That's what we're having to do. Teach our kids responsibility. And I know for me, my kids, that's what we did, athletics or sports. Once they got into sports at a young age, okay, you're committed, that's when you're gonna go. You can't go play here, or you can't go do this because you committed yourself. It teaches them responsibility. And then also now for like down north, you know, John had a good point, gardening. You have gardening there, but are we really doing our job, or are we doing an injustice? Because are we just playing the part to have a program there, putting them in the office and say, oh, we have a gardening program? Are we really doing a gardening program? Is that what you call gardening in the office? And maybe a flower pot outside? Is that gardening to you? It's not to me. Being raised in the farm, in alfalfa and plants, chili plants and out there, and going to garden some serious gardening stuff, you know. That's just a little Band-Aid we're putting, and that's what we're trying to get away from, putting Band-Aids. We gotta be strong and united together, but listen to everyone. And with that said, I just think that we need to communicate out there more. We really need to work together for the best interest of this district. Like I said, I see those buses, and when I'm hitting Santo Domingo, they're just getting off, and there's like 3 back to back, and that's around 6:45 in the morning.
Thank you. So with regards to, I really feel like Spartan Learning Academy is the right direction. I think we want to be equitable. We don't want to make anybody drink the Kool-Aid in Board Member Gutierrez's words. But we just need to be cognizant and communicate that to all of the players. Everybody needs the information, and I think that's what this is. This meeting was great. It was a great meeting for me to have a better understanding of exactly where we're headed and what we're doing. But I've said it to you in our one-on-ones, Superintendent Montaño, and my conversations with you, John, it's great that we know, but it's better if families and the parents and the kids know. Everybody needs to know and understand and get that out in some sort of form and fashion. I think the PowerPoint slides showed just all the benefits. But at the same time, we need to consider transportation and getting the folks here, and how are we gonna handle all of that? And so I just, there's lots to be made of it. I think the numbers speak for themselves, meaning the participation and the fact at those sites is kind of driving this. And that's not the sole driven reason, but the sole reason is we've often talked about being the district of choice. And in order to keep those kids from attrition, from leaving staff, and I think we've got staff under control, we are now becoming the district of choice. We need to do that for our students. And I think this game plan does all of that. I think we provide more opportunities. And so there's not I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there. They want to come here. And I think Coach Archer points with CTE, Christine's points with culture and language. I think everyone's driving in the same direction. We just need to communicate it better. I'm really excited about the opportunities that all of our students are going to have. I did appreciate what John pointed out, a couple of things that I was thinking, and you touched on them. But Superintendent Montano, I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we're turning the tide at Bernalillo Public Schools. I really feel positive about it. You know, my son was in the back today, my youngest son, and he's a second grader, and I'm excited about him participating in our district, and so that being said, if I had one caveat, was just make sure we have fully considered how we're gonna get the kids here, how we're gonna make sure that the transportation's been an issue in the past, and then and just that we communicate it through all efforts, right? It's really nice seeing San Felipe Education presented here, because then you get that information back to the students and back to the people, so it's disseminated in a way that makes sense and that is truthful. Mr. Archibald, you have one comment?
Oh, I remember, I won't harp on it, but everything that we saw on the presentation and everything, and where the direction of the SLA is going. Just, I know we're thinking about this, but measurement. How are we going to be successful? If we measure it properly and we know where we're going. Is it being effective? It's not being effective, let's change it. It's being effective, then let's expand it. Let's do what we need to, but measuring the skill sets that are taken by those children, building their personal portfolios. It is so vital at that age, especially the 7th and 8th grade. It's vital for them to be able to build those profiles. And get a sense within here. I just wanted to address Ms. Sweety's concern about maintaining the sovereignty and the culture and that type of thing. So as we talk about broadband, we're also talking about community networks, which are secure to each community that we're in. And so we're also talking about statewide education networks that only educational entities can utilize. So those things are coming down the pike, and I'm just putting them out there so that we can take advantage of. We could create a Bernalillo School District education network that only we know who's coming in and out. But it is about education and education only, not about hitting the internet, because we could block that. Not about giving free reign to the entire families. Those students, it's just like when you go to college, right? You have a login and it's specific to, it's an EDU. You do the same thing with these type of things. So I just wanted, there's a lot of thought went into it, and considering the cultural and linguistical concerns that are outlined in the Yazzie Martinez case, those are being addressed. And so from a broadband perspective. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Mr. Montano, I couldn't really see the numbers on the all those numbers, we do have the room for them at the Spartan Missouri Academy, right? We would have if they were to come, we would, and it wouldn't overcrowd them. I know I got to see the agriculture one that Cody. It was really good. It was limited. She had control, and I would like to see them all.
We have a small number together. We have plenty of
And with plenty of room to get in and stuff, because we could offer more resources to them, but we have to be cognitive of their culture and activities too. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, guys. Is action items for 13.1 September vouchers.
I motion to approve the September voucher 13.1.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
I.
September voucher passes. 13.2 bars.
Mr. President, I had some questions addressed to Dr. James, if you would answer those questions on some of the vouchers. There was a couple of transfers that I just felt that I need a plan, or I guess clarification of quality control to make sure that we're working towards error-free.
Yes.
Board President, thank you. Board Member Chavez, thank you for your question, always appreciate them. We did respond, I sent you the email with a response feedback just prior to the board meeting. I think one of the areas that's probably lacking some clarity is that there's a function number on each of these lines that are in the bars. And a function of 1,000 designates directly for students. 2,100 designates as for related services, 2,200 is for other support services, et cetera, all the way through. So where there's places it looks like there's an error, that there's two similar lines in there that they should have been combined, that's actually the way it's supposed to be. So that those are separated out, so we can run costs for direct instruction versus the other. There was one direct, the person entering that bar, there were two bars submitted, one was for one fund, one was for another one, they're very similar. And she replicated that, but she self-caught it after the board approved it. And before making the entry in the system, she resubmitted to this board with the error notice on there, clarification that she had made an error. So the quality control that we use is the redundant loop of when it's submitted, then any journal entries, any communication go back and forth. So that it's the person submitting is the person that also approves it at the other end, that journal entry is correct. And that's where it was caught, is that was sent. So always appreciate any questions and thoughts and any questions about what we're doing. So.
Good. And then the transfer from, and I know it's adding a new FTE for counselor, psychologist, and I think that's coach T and stuff. Is that something new, or why wasn't it originally considered implementing the budget?
Yes, ma'am. Board Member Chavez, thank you. So the special education department wanted to add additional services. And so I'm looking at our line item that we had previously outlined for our insurance costs. There was additional monies there. It came in a little lower than we expected. We were going for armed guards and things. And so we packed a little extra in that in the budget, but then the armed guards are actually on the submission for the insurance. So the rate came in lower than we expected. And so we utilized that money to support, and my understanding is that supporting SEL support at the San Domingo and Coach T areas is what that's being used for. So it's a preemptive measure, but we had existing budget. And
Yeah, it's like, I love the idea. It should have just been part of the plan since day one and stuff. And then I like Teresa's Little Gardener's transfers for tutoring. I love the idea. I wish that I could see it across all districts, because I know like BES doesn't have tutoring at all at the elementary level, and especially if they're not allowed to take their Chromebooks home and stuff like that, that would be helpful and stuff. So my question is that offered to all schools, or is that based on school-based principals to decide whether they have tutoring or not?
yeah, it's out of the budget. Every site has funding for that if they choose to pursue it. We also have some district funding set aside to support it. If they don't have adequate for what they want to do, we budgeted a pretty fair amount there for after school tutoring and support along with transportation.
And then Indian Education has a bar there for additional FTE, but in the description, it says they're hiring 3. Where are the other 2 going to be?
The next bar after that, I believe is 107 has the 2 additional
Okay.
FTEs. So all 3 are in the bars tonight. And it's all coming completely out of Title VI.
Okay, and then I'm not sure if it's the last one, but if we can get clarification, Mr. Montano, on the maintenance to the purpose of adjustment to pay set for salaries for restructure of facility department to meet FMP and PMP needs. Prorated salaries for the remainder of the school year, savings from contract costs will pay for these costs in FY 24-25. One, what's the plan? Two, was this NEA union negotiable?
Yes,
So,
go ahead.
sorry, so in the response that I sent to that, I attached a copy of the TA that we executed with the union on that. So we do have an executed TA with the superintendent and the president's signature. And
So when you say the TA, because they ratified it and we approved the collective bargaining, we as a board need to approve the amendment to that collective bargaining again?
So how we do this with salary restructures is that we present this to the board as a portion of the budget. Is typically how that's approved in budget season, so the bar is the vehicle for the board to say, yes, we accept this or don't accept it, so that bar approval is what gives authorization with a TA to move forward. And those FTEs are all entered in with the bar of the OBMS, so that's.
And during, just to add on, during, after budgets are approved and you're moving forward, part of the role of the finance committee is to work on behalf of the board to move these things forward. And so the finance committee reviewed those.
Okay. I know we talked about it and stuff when we were at the finance committee and we were working on it. You were at that time said NEA was, the union had to approve it and that's where we stood.
I will say again, for Mr. Chavez, I really appreciate that you're watching us, so that it keeps us on our toes, making sure we're doing it right. You're exactly right. You can see that TA was executed on October 24th. So we just finished getting that through after that finance committee. Thank you.
And my last question is, there is a bar that the PED or state gave us, which they got 65 million and we're getting 100,000. When the deadline for the acceptance award was September 30th, we are October 26th. Why are we so late on accepting? Did we ask for a waiver or something, or we're just assuming?
I dropped the ball for it. I dropped the ball. I didn't get that process, didn't get it signed.
I will also have the board, we're waiting to see what the board is spending their investments on, because those were in addition to, and we had approval from Mr. Ryan over there that if we were, they would allow that too, so if we take all that, the hit there, but they're right.
I dropped the ball. That's the flat out reality.
So remind me where this money, I know it's for CTE and kindergarten facilities. What are we gonna use that money for? If we had our conference, we wouldn't be building all this other stuff.
Board member Chavez, thank you for the question. The documents are attached and completed with the bar packet that was submitted, but just in a nutshell, the additional funds that the way that it reads is set TE or pre-K or other district projects that need maintenance. And so when collaborating with the facilities department, one of the big needs that we have to be compliant with Title IX is is it a lock? It's not a locker room, it's a changing space, a team room that's out between the softball and the baseball field. That right now is only set up for boys to use. So it's creating a real violation for us, and it needs to be segregated, separated. The entrances need to be updated so that it is truly a shared equitable working space. So that was what the 198,000 was to be focused on first and foremost. And then the 100,000 for security. We've had a request from Bernalillo High School to put some type of a stop bar at the gate, at the main entrance there, whether it be automated or a handheld one. And then also at the back of the gate to upgrade security there. So we're looking to see how far we can go, whether we're going to build a guard box, or if we're just going to create cameras from the warehouse focus with a push button entry. So that's what we're working on with that portion of those funds.
Because I've seen at the gate when I passed, some people wait for people that have the code and then they wait. The gate opens and then they run in through it to themselves.
Or they just run through the
So yeah, that's all I know.
So there must be approved bars.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve 13.2 budget adjustment requests.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passing unanimously.
Thank you for all of your questions.
Item number 15, the safety update.
Okay, Mr. Wallace is online. John, can you hear us okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
So, Mr. Wallace is gonna be online. I also want to quickly introduce Bob Tyler is our new supervisor of the security guard program. So Bob, if you want to just step up and say a couple things about yourself to the board while
Sure.
give me 2 minutes.
Okay, absolutely. I'm Mr. President, board members, I'm very happy to be here before you. I'm gonna help Sean with this project a little bit, but most importantly, I know that a lot of you are wondering. I'm a retired law enforcement officer. Came here because I thought this was a great opportunity to use a lot of my past experiences, both in education, law enforcement, and just overall a good clip of kids. I've coached. I know I heard you guys talk about it for a little while. I don't know if I should say it, but I coached at Cleveland High School and I still coach up there. I've been around up there for a while, and you know, I've had the opportunity to work in law enforcement in both the tribal community and regular communities, as well as down in Albuquerque, Bernalillo County. And so I'm really excited to be here. So that's it. Is that the 2 minutes you need?
I like the thought, you coach at Cleveland, but we stole you as an employee.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we're trying to prove that.
What do you?
Baseball. I've been up there, and I do know your daughter. I just taught her CPR first aid. I just did her certification just a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
Mr. Wallace, you ready?
Oh, there he is.
I don't know. Actually, you know what? You cannot see the screen, right? I'm gonna have to share this real quick.
David?
Bob Tyler. Bob. Yes, sir.
Okay, now you can see it, right?
need a baseball coach?
Yeah, he's trying to
He's coaching with he has Coach Buttiger is with him. So I used to coach with Buttiger as well. He coached with her.
Okay, Sean, can you see the screen? Are you ready? Okay, I'll control it from here.
Okay, strap in. Here we go. Thank you, everybody, for giving me an opportunity to come before you tonight. Just have a couple of things that wanted to talk about. Obviously, introducing Bob was one of the things that we wanted to do. One of the things that we did before we introduced Bob to our staff was we actually stood up a program. If you would, next slide. We started a new program that I've been wanting to do here for some time in the school, and it's utilizing employees and contractors to do vulnerability assessments and try to gain access in a variety of ways to our school sites. And one of the things that we assumed through the years was that that we probably had some issues, but we weren't sure what they were. And what we did with Bob his first week here was we just took him to every school site multiple times and had him attempt to get into our school sites either through open doors, open windows, or gaining entry through staff members. And one of the things that we've learned is that we have some opportunities for growth with our facilities and our staff, and we'll be looking at that in the coming months and obviously years, because it's not a program that I would want to see leave just after we get it going. I think the strength and the importance of it is being able to use our folks, employees and contractors, in a manner that as we build our staff and their understanding of the whole security protocol system and build up our facilities around that, I really think that we'll have a much more robust system than we already have. And I am willing and able to talk to you more about that if you want offline. Obviously, in our conversations, with Mr. Montano and some of the things that I've talked to John about, some of the things we just don't feel comfortable sharing in an open forum. So if we get the opportunity, maybe in our next board working session, maybe that's something that you guys would make time for me to expand upon if you're interested. Next slide, please. And I'm gonna have Bob talk about this a little bit. A couple of things that I really wanted to make sure that were heard by me and by Mr. Darnell and obviously Mr. Montano, and have been reiterated to me, is this is a program that we can't mess up. Obviously, I know that, but when I hear that from the board and I hear that from those involved, it means to me that, one, we have buy-in from you and from our executive staff, but also it means that everybody sees the importance of doing this the right way, because that was one of the things I talked about in the very beginning, was making sure that we didn't try to throw a bunch of stuff on a wall and see what sticks. Like, we really want to do this right. And so what you'll see when we open up the smart sheet, we've already started trying to lay out the plan for it. I'm going to meet with John next week, and we're going to try to get some more input, but really want to make sure that as we're putting this together, it's a robust policy. We get input from not only the board, community members, staff and students, and those stakeholders in those outline areas, because really that's the big piece of this program is it's allowing us to have professional individuals in those outline areas where it's going to take 20-30 minutes to get law enforcement on your site, even if it's a really bad situation. So making sure that we have the opportunity, one, to hopefully deter and detect anybody that would want to do that, but if they do, being able to manage that scene until the good guys and gals can arrive on scene. So Mr. Montano, if you would open up the smart sheet there.
I may have to log in, so give it just a second.
That's fine. One of the things that as you look at it, and obviously there are pieces that we still haven't put to this, right? What we want to do is we want to make sure that we have an outline and a roadmap, if you will, for where we're going. And one of the first things that we did, as you see that there are already some dates on there, is we interviewed and we hired Bob Tyler as our supervisor for this situation, or for this program. On the end, on the very far right, you see that we have the budget there that was given to us from the school board, and or supported by the school board. Dr. James, Mr. Darnell, and Matt, or Mr. Montano, pushed that through and gave me the opportunity to build a robust program. So there are, like I said, it's the roadmap of where we're going. Bob has already hit the ground running. He's got a working policy of about 30 pages right now. So whenever I tell you that we're going to make sure it's a robust program and we're going to do it right in the very beginning, that's what I mean. Bob, if you want to chime in a little bit and talk about what you've done so far, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. President, board members, you know, what I did is I wanted to do some research before. Like Sean has said, is that doing the program, we need to do it right. It doesn't matter the size of the community, it's just however we do it, we need to make sure we do it right. We need to do it right for the kids, the school district, and the families, and that everyone involved. And part of the process of getting this going is making sure that we get buy-in from all of these communities. So it's going to be a lot of community engagement and a lot of work and a lot of questions and answers and back and forth on the development of the policies that we're working on. What I'm doing now is I'm writing an initial draft that's going to be circulated out, and we're going to go through it and we're going to just tear it up. Everyone's going to go through and they're going to just give me their feedback and give us everything they like, they don't like, and then we're going to go from there and we're going to keep building on it. The most important part, though, I think, is actually getting with the community and getting feedback from them, getting feedback from all of the principals and the staff members. Because when we build a program like this, we need to make sure people are comfortable. You're gonna have an individual in a school that has a firearm. And once we introduce that into the learning environment, I think that folks are gonna have maybe some pushback, but if they have the education about why we're doing it, they know the purpose, they understand who's carrying the pistol, they understand their education, training, and experience, they will buy the program way more than if we just throw somebody in there and say, here's an armed person sitting in front of you. I think that if we do this in a very good, approachable manner, we'll get really good outcomes with the program. What I've done is I put together, I went out and I've researched from California, schools from New Mexico. Rio Rancho Public Schools was one of the ones that I went to. They have a great program, one that's actually being used by the state and writing a lot of their policies for state going forward. So what I did is I took all these different programs and I looked at them, and then I started to piecemeal apart a lot of their policies. And then the policy that I'm building now with Sean is a policy that it has so much to it, but yet it also has a lot of the points that we may be lacking or we may not even be interested in whatsoever. So as we look at it, we want to make sure that it's something that is what we need as a community and what we need as Bernalillo Public Schools. It's not a one size fits all. It's going to be something that we're going to have to work on. So we're doing a lot of work on it and we're putting a lot of intel into it. And I really want to make sure that it fits the community. And I think that's the biggest piece. And if once we get the policy in place, because just to interject the guards into the schools, well, what's the communication like? What's the uniforms look like? What's the radios? What's when they take evidence from somebody or contraband? What do we do with it? What do they do with it? Where does it go? How do we dispose of it? All these things have to be answered. And if we don't have a policy in place, then we end up losing a lot of either it is evidence or we end up getting in a lot of trouble down the road. So what I'm trying to do is just address those concerns up front and make sure that we think through the whole program before we just throw something together. It just doesn't make sense. So that's where we're at right now. We still haven't even talked about what color the uniforms are going to be, but it's just they're there, you know.
Red but no black.
You know what? I'm absolutely. I agree with you. You know, those are the things. You know, you think about it, and it's one of those things. I've even researched what the colors are throughout all the different schools. Like, should it be red? Should it be like Rio Rancho was red? Now they went to blue, and I'm like, well, why in the heck would you go to blue? Red's a more color, like when I look across the crowd, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guards right there. I know where they're all at. Blue, they all blend in and I can't find them, right? So, but I've been even researching the color differences. So it's just stuff like that. I want to make sure we do right.
It might have to be opposite here because everyone wears red.
Yeah, well, and it may be, but I was at the high school the other day and all the guards there were wearing gray and I couldn't look and see any of them through the crowd. So, you know, and it's just one of those things, it's small, but we even want to look at, when we develop the policy, I think about like the outlying communities. I was up at Coach D today, they had an incident up there where they needed something. There was 35 to 50 minutes before we could get people out there. It was unfortunate. And you know, the big thing is that had we had one armed guard right there, it would have just been something that made everybody in that school feel a lot better. So, you know, and we're working on things to just make sure that we can address those things.
It should be at 8 that
So,
yeah,
on that, Bob, you bring up a great point, and it's something that I've heard throughout the meeting tonight is we want to make sure we do a good job communicating this program. Yeah. And I think that that's something that you guys as a board have communicated to me from the very beginning. When we met with the principals yesterday and went over our findings from the site assessments, that was one of the things that we talked about is how this program is actually going to help them in those issues that we addressed. So I think that what I don't want to do is I don't want to get down into the weeds of this unless you all have specific questions that you need answered right now, but I wanted to make sure you guys had a map of where we're headed, what we're doing. And if you have individual questions, if you need to send them if you want to send them to Mr. Montano and I can respond to them, or however you want to do that, Mr. Montano, just let me know. But that's what we have for you guys right now. If you have any questions, please let me know.
I just have a question in regards to your research. If you've researched any schools that are on federal land, like, we have 2 schools that are on on federal land, and so just making sure that you're making sure that, you know, the Pueblos, the tribal leaders, BIA and the federal government, you know, kind of working through that too.
Yes, ma'am, and that's, we have to make sure that they are very aware of our program. And that one of the benefits that I have is I worked at Jemez Pueblo as one of the officers up there, and they have school there on. So I'm very familiar with some of the mandates as far as the federal systems go. But it's gonna have to be, again, a communicated program like Sean's saying, through the tribal community, through the tribal government. It's not gonna be done tomorrow. It's a process. It's gonna take us a little while to develop. But it's something that, to answer your question, yes, we are going to work with them and communicate our
Okay,
plan.
good, because both of those 2 schools,
Yes, ma'am.
they don't have a police force. It's just their tribal
BIA.
officials, and then they rely on BIA. So just wanted to make sure that you all are thinking that through, and maybe also researching other schools that are in that same situation that might be.
Yes, ma'am. You're
That's
welcome.
it.
Any questions? Bob?
I am.
The only thing I would like to add is, well, obviously, I welcome aboard, and then I'm just really interested in how this is gonna, we've allocated the funds for the FTEs to bring the people on site. Are those folks gonna come on site and be unarmed in the meantime, or are those folks, are we gonna sit tight and wait for the policy? What's the strategy moving forward with regards to that?
Sean, did you want me to answer that, or are you gonna go for it?
I'll go ahead and take that one. Yes, sir. The plan is we want to bring them on in an unarmed status as soon as possible. Just so we can get those folks on site, get them to be part of the community, allow them to learn the schools that they're working in while we build this program. If you guys remember, we had talked about the goal being the fall of next year. But we obviously want to have folks on site while we build the program, and that allows us to conduct training with them so that when we do get the program up and running, that it's ready to go. We're not having to backload a bunch of training just to get the program off and running. We actually have it already built in, and that'll be part of the process that you see as we move down the road with this.
Thank you, Sean. And the second piece is we have a policy committee that meets monthly. And so at some point, that policy that you guys are going to adopt will have to come here. So just the process that we go through, it would come to the policy committee, we could look at it, maybe give you guys a little bit of input. And then we could go through a first, second, or third reading of it. And it might end up being all of that, but for me, if wishes were wishes, it would be a first reading. That way we're big to go, because then we meet every other week, and you know, and then the policy side of the house, so it could end up being 3 months just to get it back from us, and we'd like to avoid that. But if there's anything that you need from us, Sean knows as well, but if we could really, you know, obviously it sounds like you guys are pushing hard, and I'm glad that you have policies so that we're not reinventing the wheel, right? Other folks have done something similar, so we can pull and pick and massage it so that it fits what's best for our district and our communities. But I'm excited for it. We've made a huge commitment to safety, and between you two, we'd really like to see it come to fruition. So welcome aboard, Sean. Thanks for the meeting, and that's all I've got.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Bob,
Thank you,
for
Bob.
coming.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Bob.
Thank
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you all. Thank you very much.
Item number 16 is announcements.
Pardon me? Oh, I'm sorry. You're saying get the heck out. All right, I got it. Thank you, sir.
You can stay.
Okay.
Is there anything else?
Yeah, well, one of the announcements I wanted to make, it's not announcing anything in the future, but it's just acknowledging that we had an amazing harvest festival last Saturday. I would have, if you had asked me if we could exceed what we did last year, I would have said, no, there's no, you know, if we can just get close to it, but I thought we far exceeded it with the numbers and the feedback, and actually more so this year than even last year, where people that attended that were not, that they don't have kids, they have grandkids or they have great grandkids, but they were like, who's doing this? And they said, well, this is the district doing this, bring our community back in the schools, and people said, we need this, and that was from all communities. Both John and Christine were able to attend, and I don't know if you had any comments on. I think you single-handedly chose the truck or treat winner because John and I didn't get to do it.
Oh, did I? I wonder who it was, but I didn't calculate anything. I left it to our mathematician here at the district.
Yes.
So
Lynette, who won?
but I did have lunch.
I think it was Wichita County.
Oh, they were Candyland.
Oh.
And I did have lunch with a Sacalipi family, so it was really nice. And then he had a range of kids from little infant.
One for what?
Kindergartner all the way to high school and middle school students. So it was great to really sit with them and chat with them and be able to be there. And I know my parents came and they had a really great time. So I look forward to next our spring, right? It's a
Spring one, right?
Yeah, the spring event. So, and I think, you know, just pushing it out to the community and to families and really encouraging them to come out. And also, I think, having teachers and our employees there, it's really good for them and students to see them outside of the classroom and as real people. And to talk to a couple of people from, who work in the school district and how fun they had, and a little sore from picking up things from the floor and the ground, you know, doing other things that they're not really doing during the day. But it was a good turnout. So yeah.
Lynette was, she said something.
Who won? You said Sandoval County.
And then she says she was incorrect.
Well, after announcements, it's adjournment. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.